Good morning. Welcome to the Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance's 2020 virtual annual meeting. We are happy to have you join us. I'm excited to begin with some remarks from a very special guest, His Excellency Charlie Baker, the Governor of Massachusetts.
Morning, everybody. This is Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker, and I want to take just a minute of your morning to tell you how much we appreciate all the work the Mass Housing and Shelter Alliance does on behalf of so many here in the Commonwealth. Your organization is one I'm familiar with, dating all the way back to my time as Secretary of Health and Human Services and then as Secretary of Administration and Finance in the Weld and Salucci administrations. I continued to have a bit part in working with you in a variety of ways during my time at Harvard Pilgrim, and obviously as I've come back into the public sector and had this opportunity to serve as Governor of the Commonwealth, I've had a chance to see once again the amazing work that you do on behalf of so many every single day, every single month, every single year. And this year in particular, the year in which we've all battled the pandemic, your team, your folks have risen to the top of the pile time and time again to make sure that people have access to the services and the supports despite all the constraints and the difficulties and disruptions that come with COVID, to get taken care of in a way that makes the most sense for them. I can tell you this, we're going to continue to work with you as the weather gets cold to make sure that we do all we can to ensure that people have the support they need throughout the winter and throughout the rest of this pandemic. I know that there appear to be some possible solutions on the horizon, vaccines that are going to be approved both here and in other countries, which hopefully will help us work our way through the final chapters of this terrible pandemic. But I would just say to all of you that we will do all we can to make sure that we remain vigilant and deliberate as we work our way through the process until such time as we can all get back to something that feels a little more like normal. Your teams, your people, the work they do makes an enormous difference. And if I ever, for a minute, wondered about that, during the course of this past year, you've more than delivered time and again for some of our most vulnerable citizens. Thank you. And I really hope you all find a way to have a safe, enjoyable holiday season. God bless.
Thank you, Governor Baker. It's an honor to have you join us this morning. Welcome, everyone, to the 2020 annual meeting of the Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance. I'm Ben Josephson, newly appointed chair of the MHSA Board of Directors. I've been privileged to serve on the MHSA Board of Directors and Advisory Board for over 10 years. I'm grateful to be working alongside talented and committed fellow board members and MHSA staff on solutions to eliminating homelessness in Massachusetts. Whether you're joining us this morning from your bedroom, your kitchen table, or maybe you're actually in your office, thank you for tuning in. While we miss networking and chatting in person, this year's virtual MHSA Annual Meeting allows many new people to participate, some of whom could not typically travel to Boston on an early weekday morning to attend in person. We've all become accustomed to a few phrases these past 9 months. This is unprecedented. We have to pivot. These are challenging times. Nowhere is this more true than in the homeless community. The very public health measure most of us can take for granted, the ability to stay at home, is simply not possible for our homeless population in shelters and congregate housing. The MHSA Annual Meeting is a time for us to reflect on the past year, new issues that have arisen in our fight against homelessness, new milestones we have hit in getting more people off the street and out of emergency shelters and into permanent housing, the accomplishments and achievements of those working so hard every day on behalf of the homeless in Massachusetts, including the government agencies and municipalities who are committed to ending homelessness and see MHSA as a resource and partner. Thank you for being open to adopting new housing programs and for taking action to assist the needs of our partner agencies. The member agencies and service providers who inform MHSA about the challenges they face, thank you for speaking up so we can advocate for appropriate and necessary resources. To the direct care staff working on the front lines with clients and tenants and who see firsthand both the detrimental impacts of homelessness and the empowerment of stable housing. Donors who financially support MHSA's mission, Your help with priorities that are often not covered by public funding and help MHSA continue exploring new programs and new ways to increase access to permanent housing across Massachusetts. Thank you for your generosity and for believing in our work. And for any of you who are new to MHSA and maybe this is your first time learning about what we do, thank you for taking time out of your morning to be here. I hope you leave inspired by the dedication and commitment of everyone in this virtual space as we get closer and closer to ending homelessness in Massachusetts. I'll let Joe give his introductions of each of them in a minute, but I'm honored to be the first to officially congratulate our award recipients this year, Senator Brendan Crighton, Theresa Di Pietro, and the direct care staff at MHSA member agencies. All of you have done tremendous work supporting the homeless community. You are so deserving of these awards, and I hope you take pride in this recognition. Thank you for your extraordinary commitment to your communities and the people who you serve. With that, I'll turn it over to Joe Finn, MHSA's President and Executive Director, so we can get started. Welcome to MHSA's 2020 Virtual Annual Meeting.
Good morning. Thank you, Ben. We are excited that you have taken the responsibility of the leadership of MHSA upon you. We are indebted not only to you, but also to Tom Collins and his work over the years that made your moment possible. First, just let me say how saddened I am by the fact that we're not all together at the BC Club, and I'm sincerely hoping that next year we will all be together again. It would be a cliche for me to start off my annual report with such sayings about 2020. It was a difficult year. It has been professionally the most challenging year of my life. I know it was also most demanding on those agencies we hope to serve across the state, sheltering and housing persons experiencing homelessness. Think about it, the rapid introduction and spread of COVID-19 through our state, communities scrambling to meet the demand it was placing on their health and human services, the need to depopulate shelters, identify sites, protect the most vulnerable, arrange for quarantine and isolation for this population, and then how to deal moving into winter with a massive deficiency of shelter beds. And it's not over yet. As transmission rates kick upward again, and we still are not sure if the need of people experiencing homelessness can be met statewide. Plus, while all of this was going on in our country, the unfortunate occurrence of violence against Black Americans and a contentious election year that presented challenges and also left many of us shaking our heads. It has been a most challenging year. But I believe MHSA, and more importantly, the member agencies of MHSA, have stepped up to the challenges presented and have not only weathered the storm, but perhaps changed the way we approach the issue of homelessness irrevocably for the future. The Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote in his essay on Providence, "Excellence withers without an adversary. The time for us to see how great it is, how much its force, is when it displays its power through endurance." If COVID is the adversary, then I think MHSA throughout this time has shown its excellence. We have shown the power of excellence through our endurance. First, we played a key role in bringing communities together to address the issues caused by the depopulation of shelters. We brought the community of statewide providers of permanent supportive housing to address the unique challenges COVID presented them with. We were able to assist our legislators in both houses to understand the difficulties faced by providers and individuals experiencing homelessness. We advocated and received additional budget resources in both the supplemental budget and the fiscal year 21 budget to address supportive housing as an alternative to shelter. Plus, we had worked successfully on a plan to ensure the safety of our own staff and implement a technology to allow remote work from home, without missing a beat, I might add. We launched a new website that is better to able resources and further our advocacy agenda. We were able to complete a peaceful transition of power at MHSA and took several steps towards improving the board governance. And this is an important time to acknowledge again the time and commitment of our outgoing chairman of the board of directors, Tom Collins, who worked many years to bring us to this place. We also were awarded a significant 5-year grant by the Massachusetts Community Health Fund for a policy, systems, and environment approach to our Place to Live program, to not only promote our model of micro-units, but also to take a closer look at the issue of racial and ethnic equity related to homelessness. Finally, perhaps most important to me, indicative of the great work of our financial staff, as well as the vigilance and commitment of all our staff, the governance of our board of directors, the generosity of our donors. We did not need to lay off or furlough a single employee. We did not need to borrow federal or public dollars to do this. And knock on wood, we did not as of yet have a single person become infected by the COVID crisis. Let me finish with a story. Just the other day, a gentleman made a very generous donation online to MHSA. With a goad from our development team, I called him personally to thank him. Now, as anyone on our board knows, I'm always being asked by them, tell us what it is MHSA actually does. Well, this gentleman put it perfect, and I want to share this with you. He said, what I like about your organization is you actually work to assist agencies who are on the ground working with those experiencing homelessness, and you are also working towards better solutions for this population. That is exactly what we do, and I'm grateful that such a message is getting through. We work to support those laboring in our communities, and we are constantly looking for better ways to end homelessness in Massachusetts. Excellence is our goal, even in the midst of adversity. We have been tested and so far have met that challenge, but we would not have been able to do that without the work of our board, the support of our members, and finally, the generosity of all those who support the work of MHSA. Here's hoping for and wishing all of you as well a better 2021. Thank you. Now let's transition into the heart of the annual meeting, the award presentations. It's my honor to introduce Jennifer Reed, the daughter of Canon Brian S. Kelley.
Good morning. Thank you, Joe Finn and the staff of the Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance for continuing to honor our father's legacy with the Canon Brian S. Kelley Public Servant Award. Thank you for the work you do each day to develop partnerships, secure funding, and create solutions to help the most vulnerable citizens in our Commonwealth. The work you do each and every day matters. On behalf of my family, we are honored to be here today to help present the Canon Brian S. Kelley Public Servant Award to Senator Brendan P. Crighton for his commitment to providing comprehensive housing solutions for people experiencing homelessness in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. This pandemic has endangered the well-being of many citizens of our Commonwealth, and it could be easy to focus one's efforts elsewhere. Yet from the very beginning of the pandemic, Senator Crighton focused on the impact on people experiencing homelessness. He demonstrated leadership on this issue through his work on the Senate COVID-19 Working Group Subcommittee. Senator Crighton and his staff proactively reached out to MHSA and other stakeholders throughout the pandemic to learn about the challenges that were being faced by individuals experiencing homelessness and the providers who serve them, bringing those concerns back to the Senate and advocating for policy and funding to address them. Senator Crighton cares deeply for the most vulnerable, from working to identify resources for individual constituents in need, to playing a key role in securing $5.8 million for permanent supportive housing providers in the COVID-19 supplemental budget. Given this work and his role as chair of the Joint Committee on Housing, it is evident why Senator Crighton was chosen to receive the award this year. We are thankful for the work you've done, and we are thankful for the work you will continue to do. Thank you so much.
Our first award is the Canon Brian S. Kelley Public Servant Award. When the homeless crisis started to emerge in the 1980s, one courageous faith leader was a first responder to this growing problem. Canon Kelley was the one who gathered and convened those wrestling with the issue of homelessness. Through Social Action Ministries, he brought together faith communities and human service providers to work together to end this scandal. In fact, he was one of the original members and a catalyst for the Greater Boston Adult Shelter Alliance, which would later become the Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance. For this reason, and long before I arrived at MHSA, the Canon Kelley Public Servant Award was created to honor those in public life who responded to address the problem of homelessness. Past recipients have included Henry Cisneros, Joe Kennedy, Charlie Baker when he was at A&F, and recent awardees including Mary Lou Sutters, Jeffrey Sanchez. I can think of no more appropriate awardee than we have this year, because his efforts parallel those of Canon Kelley. When we found ourselves in the midst of the COVID crisis in spring, we were amazed when a special subcommittee from the Senate approached us seeking information on how it was impacting persons experiencing homelessness. This relationship continued to grow, and we found it was the chair of the Housing Committee who was driving this forward. He participated not only in forwarding an aggressive strategy to address those most in need, but participated with MHSA in a statewide webinar to instruct local communities on strategies to respond to this crisis. To assist us in this presentation, we have a distinguished guest who also has been a champion for those in need and an advocate for housing those persons with behavioral health needs, the President of the Senate, Karen Spilka.
Hello, everyone. I'm Senate President Karen Spilka. Thank you to the Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance for your incredible leadership and commitment to reducing homelessness in the Commonwealth. And thank you for inviting me to participate in this fantastic event. Congratulations to all of the honorees as well. So I am thrilled, though, to be introducing one of those honorees today, Senator Brendan Crighton, a good friend of mine, as this year's nominee for the Canon Brian S. Kelley Public Servant Award. I can simply think of no one that's more deserving of this honor than Senator Brendan Crighton. His leadership on behalf of his district, and particularly on housing and homelessness issues across the Commonwealth, have been a model in public service. Senator Crighton is a steadfast and dedicated advocate who helped to usher in one of the strongest eviction and foreclosure moratoriums in the country, along with successfully advocating for additional funding for supportive housing providers. As Senate President, I have the privilege of working closely with Senator Crighton as the Senate's Housing Chair, especially during this unprecedented public health crisis. And his voice, his counsel, and his advocacy are just invaluable. I don't need to tell you that COVID-19 has laid bare much of the work that still needs to be done around housing justice. The right to shelter should be accessible to anyone. Senator Crighton and I share that priority and will continue to work together in securing support for homeless individuals and those at risk of becoming homeless. So, Senator Crighton, thank you for your leadership and your great partnership. And a huge congratulations to my friend, Senator Crighton, on this amazing honor. Congratulations.
Good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to say thank you to Senate President Spilka for her kind words and for her leadership throughout this pandemic. It has been such a great help to all of those facing housing insecurity, as well as homelessness. It has really saved lives. I'm honored to be receiving the Canon Brian S. Kelley Public Servant Award. It has been an absolute privilege to work with Joe Finn and the outstanding staff at the Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance. Their decades of commitment and dedicated service assisting people experiencing homelessness are truly remarkable. COVID-19 has had devastating effects on housing insecure families and individuals throughout the Commonwealth. MHSA works to meet people where they are, to recognize and maintain their dignity, and to help them get back on their feet. I am proud to call them a partner, and I am deeply moved and greatly appreciate this recognition. At the outset of the pandemic, Senate President Karen Spilka recognized the many negative impacts this virus would have on Massachusetts and its residents, and she immediately took action to form a Senate working group to look at the issues caused by COVID-19 and to craft necessary legislation. As a member of the Senate Safety Net subgroup, I sought to give my colleagues and Senate staff insight and intel on what issues were occurring in the housing world. Working with shelters and advocacy groups across the state, we were able to get a sense of what needed to be done immediately to meet the needs of the providers and keep families and individuals safely housed. During this time, the information that Joe Finn and Caitlin Golden provided was invaluable for the Senate Safety Net subgroup to elevate the needs of the shelter system to the entire state Senate and to the administration. Homeless shelters face an acute shortage of personal protective equipment, which MHSA helped track across the state so that we could communicate these needs to our partners in state government and to get PPE to where it was needed most urgently. Furthermore, space constraints made it difficult for shelters to follow the state's social distancing guidance. Thanks to MHSA bringing these issues to the attention of the Senate Safety Net subgroup, the Senate President was able to work with the governor to address them. MEMA worked closely with community groups and shelters to identify and provide quarantine locations across the Commonwealth where homeless people could isolate and quarantine safely. With the urgent need to physically distance to help prevent the spread of COVID-19, combined with the complex medical needs of the homeless population, permanent supportive housing emerged as a key solution. In its supplemental budget in July, the legislature invested $5.8 million for organizations providing permanent supportive housing to individuals, which will help sustain existing and create new housing opportunities. In the beginning of this pandemic, the legislature enacted the strongest eviction and foreclosure moratorium in the country, and since then we have continued to prioritize housing. In the FY21 budget, we continue to invest in programs to prevent homelessness for those facing housing insecurity and enhance legal protection for tenants facing eviction. And while we must work urgently to prevent homelessness, we must also continue to protect those who are already living without a home. During this pandemic, many of us are working from home, learning from home, and staying at home far more than usual. While we may be finding it difficult, ultimately, our homes keep us safe. I will continue to fight along with partners like MHSA to end homelessness and meet the housing and health-related needs of individuals and families who find themselves without a home. Together, we will make sure that these individuals stay safe throughout and beyond the pandemic.
And so it's a great honor for me this year to present the 2021 Canon Brian S. Kelley Public Servant Award to the co-chair of the Joint Committee on Housing, Senator Brendan P. Crighton, for his leadership in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic and his dedication to housing solutions for people experiencing homelessness.
I am humbled to be receiving the Canon Brian S. Kelley Public Servant Award, and I would again like to thank Joe and his amazing team at MHSA for all of their help and the information they provided that has been a call to action to me, my team, and the Massachusetts legislature. While it is an honor to receive this award today, I recognize that my job is easy compared to the countless selfless individuals doing this work at the ground level. Thanks to all of you, and I wish you a happy and safe holiday season.
Thank you, President Spilka and Senator Crighton. Next, I would like to present the Cornerstone Award. In previous years, we have presented this award to businesses or organizations, ones who've recognized the importance of ending homelessness in our communities, or have been dedicated to supporting MHSA's mission. They have been a cornerstone in MHSA's work by providing resources and support. This year, we've decided to present this award to an individual. She is an employee at a MHSA member agency, Cove Human Services, and is someone who's been a rock in the lives of her tenants to help them transition out of homelessness and succeed in permanent housing. She has dedicated her career to ending homelessness. She's described as a fierce and loyal advocate for the people she serves, and her relationships within the community she works have been paramount in connecting her clients with wraparound services to help them succeed in housing. She oversees MHSA's programs administered by Bay Cove: Journey to Success, North Star, Chelsea Community Center, and Pay for Success. She has been a long-standing champion of people experiencing homelessness, with exceptional dedication to ensuring their success in permanent housing. I am delighted to present this year's Cornerstone Award to Theresa Di Pietro, Director of Housing Services at Bay Cove Human Services. Congratulations, Theresa.
I want to thank MHSA for recognizing my work and presenting this award to me. I am so honored to be standing here today to receive the Cornerstone Award. I want to thank Joe Finn, Kay Weil, Monica Ruggiero, and the entire MHSA team for choosing me as this year's recipient. I am honored and humbled to be chosen as someone who has furthered the mission of MHSA to end homelessness in Massachusetts. I stand here in the company of many impressive past recipients of this award, including last year's winner, the Highland Street Foundation. What we all have in common is the hope that, working collaboratively, we can end homelessness and recognize the dignity of the homeless poor. I want to take this time to thank my family for dealing with my conversations over the years and listening to me at holiday dinners advocating for homeless families. I would frequently explain that it is not just people in poverty that can become homeless. It's anyone, regardless of their background. It touches all of us. I want to thank the great team at Bay Cove, who I have had the pleasure of working with over the last 5 years. Working to end homelessness takes a village in collaboration with a network of community leaders. It cannot be done alone. I also want to recognize someone who played a very important part in shaping my career, Mara Penzak. She was a mentor and a role model for me for many years. Mara always recognized the need for housing services for the homeless population. I remember starting housing workshops in the lobby of family motel shelters with her. She always came up with ways to offer homeless families the resources to be rehoused. Under her leadership, I developed new ways to continue my work to serve the homeless. Thank you, Mara. When I first started working at the Somerville Family Network, part of my responsibilities were to connect families to services. I started to meet with families, single mothers, single fathers, raising their children or grandchildren alone. It was clear to me that affordable housing was a huge need, as well as other direct housing services. As a result of these conversations, I began to create a housing panel of community organizations who could provide information regarding housing barriers and/or evictions. I offered this panel to the community of Somerville for families to attend. I remember speaking with Todd Kaplan. At the time, he was working with Cambridge and Somerville Legal Services and advocating for the housing panel. Todd was a willing participant and very supportive of this event. This was the start of my commitment to help the homeless. I knew it would be a lifelong willingness to help those at the most vulnerable point in their lives, facing homelessness. This story best exemplifies why I do this work. I worked with a single mom who was in a very abusive relationship and trying to raise 5 children. She was referred to me through the Housing Consumer Education Center, at the time Metropolitan Boston Housing Partnership, now Metro Housing Boston. I was able to counsel her into connecting with Response Services, and she left the abuser. She still needed a place to call home and faced so many challenges ahead. I was able to rehouse her into a 4-bedroom unit in the Boston area. The abuser was from out of state, so this worked out well for safety reasons. This client sent me a wonderful thank you letter, and I was able to visit one more time after she had settled in. She was in tears showing me around her home. This was the best reward for my work. About a year ago, the same client reached out to me and shared that she's presently employed as a case manager in the Boston area, offering the same services she had received from me. This is one example out of many why I am committed to working towards ending homelessness. I will continue to work hard to end the stigma associated with homelessness. This is not limited to individuals in poverty, addicts, or the uneducated. Homelessness can happen to anyone at any time. I work daily to educate property owners, management companies, and others that homelessness does not discriminate. We are all good people going through difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you, Theresa. Next, we have an award very special to me, the Ed O'Neill Award. Ed was a friend of mine. In the 90s, he had an experience of homelessness, and he was the first person to be awarded a place in the Sheila McIntyre House for Veterans in Quincy when I worked at Father Bill's place. Ed went on to work for New England Veterans Services and later for the VA. He served for some time on the board of directors when I was the executive director at Shelter Inc. But what marked Ed was his total dedication to those he served. He could care less about who got the credit. He only cared about assisting others to move beyond their circumstances as he did. His special passion was toward helping other veterans who'd fallen on hard times. We instituted this award to recognize those in direct care who, like Ed, dedicate their lives to serving others in need. This year, having witnessed so many caring and courageous workers who never abandoned their posts during some of the most challenging and frightening situations, we decided to expand this award to all of those nominated as our way of recognizing all direct care workers who have weathered the COVID-19 virus at their various program sites. It is my honor to introduce Sarah O'Neill and the O'Neill family.
Good morning. I want to thank you all for asking my family and I to be here today to recognize the nominees of the Ed O'Neill Award. Every year, my family and I look forward to this day, as I know how near and dear the fight to end homelessness was to my dad and how humbled he'd be today. This time of year always makes me reflect on the lessons my dad taught us growing up. Above all, he taught us to have gratitude, not only for the big things, but for the little things that people would take for granted. As a little girl, I would say to my dad, "Papa, what are you thankful for?" And he would say to me, "I'm thankful for my toothbrush." And I would laugh and say, "Papa, really, what are you thankful for?" And he would say, "I'm thankful for my toothbrush. Because if I have a toothbrush, that means I have a sink to brush my teeth in. And if I have a sink to brush my teeth in, that means I have a bathroom, a place to shower every day. And if I have a bathroom, that probably means I'm blessed enough to have a roof over my head." He would go on and on about the little things that he was grateful for, the things that he didn't always have. Working at the New England Shelter for Homeless Veterans and running the RISE program at the Brockton VA, my dad's heart was always against the fight to end homelessness, because he too had been there once before. This year, more than ever, we want to say thank you. During a time of social distancing and isolation, you have selfishly and without question put others first. Amidst a pandemic, you have gone above and beyond your call of a frontline worker to make a difference in the lives of so many. I'm honored to present this award in my dad's name, for you are all the true heroes. Bill Gates wrote recently, "A hero represents the best of who we can be." Their efforts serve as powerful examples of how to make a positive difference in the world. Don't ever underestimate how important your work is and the true difference that you have made in this world. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Meredith Christensen. I'm the Director of Housing and Outreach Services at New England Center and Home for Veterans.
I'm Lindsay Donovan. I'm the Patient Benefits Coordinator and Front Desk Person at our clinic inside the New England Center and Home for Veterans as a part of the Boston Healthcare for the Homeless program.
Jeffrey Gagnon. I am a Housing Case Manager with Father Bill's and Mainspring out of the Plymouth office.
My name's Jen Gomes. I'm a nurse here at the clinic with Boston Healthcare for the Homeless program.
I'm Jennifer Granat, and I work at Stepping Stone Incorporated. I am a C-spec worker there in the homeless shelter, and I'm also a recovery coach.
It's Ronnie Haywood. I'm in the Street Outreach / Turning Point Case Manager at South Middlesex Opportunity Council in Framingham.
My name is Julianne Lavelle, and I'm a nurse practitioner at Boston Healthcare for the Homeless program.
My name is James Lawson. I am a housing case manager out of Braintree for Father Bill's in Mainspring.
So I work for Lynn Emergency Shelter Association. I'm a C-spec case manager, but I'm also an outreach supervisor.
Carol McSorley. I work for Father Bill's in Mainspring. I'm a housing case manager for the Northern region.
My name is Amina. I work at Victory Programs at the specific shelter Chambliss Family Home in Dorchester.
My name is Sharon Morrison, and I'm a nurse also with Boston's Healthcare for the Homeless program here in the clinic at the New England Center and Home for Veterans.
I'm James Noonan with Boston Healthcare for the Homeless program. I'm a PA with the program.
John Pendleton. I'm a case manager for the C-SPEC program at the SMOC, South Middlesex Opportunity Council.
My name is Jesus Quinones. I am the GPD program manager. I work for the Southeastern Mass Veterans Housing Program.
My name is Kathy Schofield, and the job right now that I am is at Lewis and House and Adams, which is a homeless shelter.
I'm the medical director here at the clinic at the New England Center and Home for Veterans.
Not being able to be face-to-face and having things just added an extra step.
The isolation our patients are experiencing, they're already a pretty isolated population, and I feel like it's been even harder on them.
A lot of the guys I work with like to see our faces, basically. They like to see that stability of someone coming around that they can count on.
Through this pandemic, is just like everybody else is facing those challenges with IDs, documentation, and there's no space.
Escalation of mental health.
Some of the clients, barely speak English. They don't know how to use computers or, just work a lot of the online documents. So that's been a difficulty.
I think the biggest challenges we had were with needing medical care, in-person medical care, and food security.
Do is like obtaining documentation, because a lot of people that come in homeless, they don't have identifications and stuff.
There's a lot more things that you have to be careful of in terms of your health and everyone else's.
I love having a chance to work with other collaborating agencies with kind of the same goal of ending homelessness.
The immediate access to healthcare services, that these are already folks who have fallen through the cracks in other places. So it's really meaningful to be in a place that we're kind of that safety net to catch people and help give people access.
I love that every day is a different day. I love that being a case manager in housing, we seem to wear many hats.
Bringing people from their most vulnerable and homeless state to then giving them the joy of going from outside and inside, then bringing them inside to their own home.
The fact that, I can give people hope again that they might have lost.
What I love most about our work is the humbling opportunity to get to walk alongside our patients as they face unbelievable challenges with such resilience.
I've been in human services for a while, and I've never done it for recognition at all, but I've always found it worthwhile to be able to feel like I've given back.
My goal is to be a lifter of heads and give someone a little bit of hope and a purpose. And I feel like it's very rewarding to be able to do that.
Housing is something that I've always been involved in, so I love being in this. I'm sensitive to the clients and their needs.
Just respect for veterans and for the sacrifices that they've made. And so it's been particularly a privilege for me to be in this clinic, being able to work with veterans and to learn about their service.
Dedication of our team, and then also the resiliency of our patients.
Well, the staff that I work with are some of the most committed people I've ever met, as I'm sure everyone in this room is. And the clients are just so grateful to have an advocate.
I feel good at the end of my job. When I go home, I feel like I've done something that's helped. It's never the same, no matter how many years I've worked, how many jobs I've worked. It's always different, and that's what I like about it.
Work is working on an incredible team to do whatever it takes to bring health and care for veterans experiencing homelessness.
Thank you for joining us for the 2020 MHSA Annual Meeting. Stay healthy, stay safe, and have a wonderful holiday. Take care.